news comes as Kokomo farmer Kent Chisholm is preparing to plant soybeans in his field. He and others are closely watching what's happening with exports.
China's decision to cut ties with the $34 billion of U.S. farming industry isn't just a trade dispute. It's a seismic shift threatening America's agricultural legacy. For decades, China has been the lifeline for American farmers, buying up soybeans, corn, and more. But now that lifeline has snapped, leaving farmers, communities, and the nation reeling from a move that could redefine global agriculture. Why did China make this move, and what does it mean for America's farming future? Could this be the beginning of a food supply crisis? How will this shift ripple through the economy, and how will it affect you? Stay tuned because this goes much deeper than you expect. What's happening? The rolling fields of America's heartland have long been a symbol of resilience, with generations of farmers cultivating soybeans, corn, and other staples that fuel the economy. Central to this prosperity has been a lucrative export relationship with China, the world's largest importer of agricultural commodities. For years, billions of dollars worth of U.S. soybeans have made their way to Chinese ports, supporting not just farmers, but entire rural communities. But now the rhythm of planting and harvesting is under threat. China has announced a significant reduction in its agricultural imports from the U.S., effectively cutting off a $34 billion pipeline. This isn't just a minor adjustment, it's a direct hit to the very foundation of rural America. Farmers who once relied on steady Chinese demand are now left scrambling, uncertain of what comes next. Behind this decision lies a complex web of geopolitical tensions and economic strategies. China has been aggressively diversifying its agricultural suppliers, turning to countries like Brazil and Argentina to meet its needs. This move isn't just about trade, it's a strategic pivot that leaves American farmers as collateral damage. Agricultural shift. China's shift away from U.S. agriculture didn't come out of nowhere. For years, growing tensions between the two nations have created an uneasy backdrop for trade. From tariff wars to political disagreements, the cracks in this relationship have been widening, and now China is making its move, signaling a desire to reduce dependency on American commodities altogether. At the core of this problem is vulnerability. For decades, American farmers have leaned heavily on Chinese demand, with soybeans alone accounting for billions in annual exports. But reliance on a single buyer comes with risks. When that buyer suddenly walks away or shifts its focus elsewhere, it leaves a gaping hole that's nearly impossible to fill. China's diversification strategy includes strengthening ties with South America, where countries like Brazil and Argentina have ramped up soybean production. With their vast croplands and favorable climates, these nations are quickly positioning themselves as the new agricultural heavyweights, taking full advantage of the opening created by China's withdrawal from U.S. markets. Farmland struggles. The immediate impact of China's decision is being felt in fields across the Midwest. Unsold crops are piling up in warehouses, prices are plunging, and farmers are left staring down a grim reality. Contracts that once ensured financial stability are now being canceled or renegotiated at much lower rates. The ripple effect extends far beyond the farms themselves. Rural communities are particularly hard hit. Local businesses that rely on farm income, like equipment dealers, seed suppliers, and trucking companies, are seeing their revenues shrink. Schools and healthcare facilities, funded in part by the prosperity of the farming community, are bracing for budget cuts. The social fabric of these towns, already fragile, is beginning to fray under the weight of economic uncertainty. For farmers, the stakes are personal. Families like the Carters in Nebraska are facing tough choices. Should they mortgage their land to make it through another season? Or should they scale back operations, risking their legacy in the process? The psychological toll is immense, as the uncertainty of the future hangs heavy over their heads. The dependence on China. For decades, American farmers and rural economies have thrived on the predictable rhythm of planting, harvesting, and exporting. At the heart of this prosperity lies a relationship forged with China, a country whose insatiable demand for soybeans, corn, and other agricultural products turned it into the United States' largest agricultural trade partner. This partnership was not just about economics, it became a lifeline for entire communities, fueling schools, small businesses, and even healthcare systems in America's heartland. China's rise as an agricultural powerhouse began in the late 20th century, driven by rapid industrialization and urbanization. By the early 21st century, its burgeoning middle class demanded more meat, more processed foods, and more animal feed, needs that the United States was uniquely positioned to meet. The result was a symbiotic trade relationship, with billions of dollars flowing annually between the two nations. But this dependence has come at a cost. When nearly half of your soybean exports rely on a single buyer, you become vulnerable to shifts in that buyer's priorities. And now China's priorities have shifted. In a move that seemed almost inevitable after years of escalating tensions, China has announced a dramatic reduction in its purchases of American agricultural goods. The reliance that once brought stability has now become a precarious balancing act, threatening to topple the very foundation of rural economies. Economic shockwaves. The fallout from China's decision is more than just a headline. It is a series of cascading impacts that are upending lives and livelihoods. Farmers across the Midwest and beyond are grappling with unsold crops and plummeting prices. Soybeans, once referred to as green gold for their lucrative returns, are now sitting in silos, their value dropping with each passing day. Without the predictable revenue from exports to China, farmers are being forced to make impossible choices. Do they invest in planting another season's crop, knowing that the market might not recover? Do they cut back on expenses, sacrificing advancements in technology or sustainability that could improve their yields? Or do they face the unthinkable, selling off parts of their land, breaking up family farms that have been passed down for generations? These decisions are not just about individual farmers. The economic fabric of rural America is woven from threads that stretch far beyond the fields. Local businesses are struggling as farmers tighten their belts. Equipment dealers are seeing fewer sales. Seed suppliers are facing shrinking orders, and transportation companies are losing contracts to haul produce to ports. In many small towns, these businesses are pillars of the community, and their decline has a ripple effect that touches everyone. Schools are another casualty of this economic downturn. In many rural areas, public schools are funded through property taxes, which are closely tied to the prosperity of local agriculture. As farmers struggle, so do the schools. Teachers face budget cuts, extracurricular programs are slashed, and the quality of education suffers. For families already grappling with uncertainty, the loss of strong schools adds yet another layer of worry. Healthcare systems, too, are feeling the strain. In rural America, hospitals and clinics often operate on razor-thin margins, relying on steady local incomes to keep their doors open. As farmers and their communities face financial hardship, these vital institutions are left scrambling to provide care with fewer resources. The social fabric unravels. The economic impacts are staggering, but the social consequences are equally profound. Farming communities are built on interdependence, a web of relationships that includes neighbors, local businesses, and institutions like schools and churches. When one part of this web is weakened, the entire structure begins to fray. Families who have farmed the same land for generations are now questioning whether they can hold on. Around dinner tables, difficult conversations are taking place. Can they afford to plant next year's crop? Should they take on more debt, knowing the risks involved? For many, the uncertainty is a heavy burden, one that takes a toll not only on finances but also on mental health. The stress is evident in rising rates of anxiety, depression, and even suicide among farmers. These are people who pride themselves on resilience, who have weathered droughts, floods, and fluctuating markets. But the current crisis feels different. It is not just a bad season or an isolated event, it is a systemic shift that threatens the very way of life they have always known. Communities are also grappling with demographic changes. Young families, drawn to the stability and opportunity of urban areas, are leaving rural towns in search of a better future. This exodus leaves behind aging populations and dwindling resources, further eroding the fabric of small-town life. Schools close as enrollments drop, local businesses shutter their doors, and the vibrant energy that once defined these communities begins to fade. A vulnerable legacy. The reliance on China has not just shaped the economics of farming, it has defined the identity of rural America. Farmers who once took pride in feeding the world are now questioning their role in an increasingly volatile global market. The connection to the land, the sense of purpose that comes from producing something essential, is being overshadowed by a growing sense of vulnerability. For many, the decision to reduce Chinese imports feels like a betrayal. Farmers invested in technology, sustainability, and efficiency to meet China's demands, believing that their efforts would pay off in the long run. Now they are left wondering if those investments were in vain. The vulnerability is not just economic, it is deeply personal. The land that has sustained generations of families is now a source of uncertainty. For some, the prospect of selling that land is not just a financial decision, it is an emotional one, tied to their identity and heritage. Why this matters to everyone. The story of American farming is not just a rural issue, it is a national one. The food produced in the Midwest feeds not only Americans, but also people around the world. The economic health of farming communities affects everyone, from the truck driver delivering produce to the urban consumer buying groceries. China's decision to cut back on American imports is a wake-up call, not just for farmers, but for policymakers, consumers, and anyone who relies on a stable food supply. The ripple effects of this move will be felt far beyond the fields, touching every corner of the economy. If farming communities continue to decline, the consequences will be widespread. Local economies will falter, rural schools and healthcare systems will struggle, and the nation's food supply will become more dependent on foreign sources. For a country that prides itself on self-sufficiency, this is a troubling prospect. China's new partners. As China distances itself from American agriculture, a new narrative is unfolding. A story of South American nations stepping into the void and reshaping the global agricultural landscape. Brazil and Argentina, with their expansive croplands and favorable climates, have emerged as the new agricultural juggernauts, poised to meet China's insatiable demand for soybeans and other staples. Brazil, in particular, has been preparing for this moment for years. With vast arable land, a tropical climate conducive to year-round farming, and heavy investments in infrastructure, the nation has positioned itself as the primary alternative to the United States. In recent years, Brazil has consistently ranked as one of the largest exporters of soybeans, and now, with China's pivot, its dominance is solidifying. Argentina, too, is seizing the opportunity. Known for its fertile plains, or pampas, the country has rapidly expanded its soybean production to capitalize on the shifting trade dynamics. These nations are not just filling a temporary gap, they are building long-term relationships with China that could permanently reshape global agriculture. For China, this shift is strategic. By diversifying its import sources, it reduces reliance on any single supplier, minimizing vulnerabilities in the face of geopolitical tensions. For Brazil and Argentina, the benefits are immediate and immense. Increased demand means higher revenues, enabling further investments in agricultural technology and infrastructure. The once U.S.-dominated trade dynamic is now tilting southward, with South America firmly in the driver's seat. Technological divide. One of the critical factors enabling Brazil and Argentina to thrive in this new environment is their agility in adopting agricultural technologies. From advanced irrigation systems to precision farming tools, these nations have embraced innovation to maximize yields and reduce costs. This stands in stark contrast to the challenges faced by many American farmers. In the United States, the adoption of cutting-edge technology is often hindered by restrictive contracts and proprietary systems. Farmers must navigate a labyrinth of intellectual property rights, licensing fees, and repair restrictions, making it costly and cumbersome to implement new technologies. The right to repair movement, which advocates for farmers' ability to maintain and modify their equipment, highlights the frustrations many face. Meanwhile, in Brazil and Argentina, open-source technologies and collaborative innovations have empowered farmers to adapt quickly to changing market demands. The technological divide is not just about equipment, it extends to knowledge sharing and accessibility. In South America, government policies and public-private partnerships have facilitated widespread adoption of best practices. Training programs, subsidies for technological upgrades, and streamlined regulatory frameworks have created an environment where innovation flourishes. By contrast, American farmers often find themselves constrained by outdated policies and a lack of coordinated support. Economic competition intensifies. The economic shift brought about by China's pivot is more than a regional concern. It is a global challenge. With Brazil and Argentina strengthening their positions, American farmers are now competing on an uneven playing field. The cost of production in South America is often lower thanks to cheaper labor and less stringent regulations. Coupled with technological advancements and increasing efficiency, these nations are producing high-quality crops at prices that are hard to beat. For American farmers, this creates a daunting scenario. To remain competitive, they must find ways to lower costs without sacrificing quality, a difficult task given the financial pressures already weighing on them. Diversification is one potential solution. Some farmers are exploring new crops such as organic vegetables or specialty grains that cater to niche markets. Others are investing in sustainable practices, hoping to capitalize on growing consumer demand for environmentally friendly products. However, these strategies come with risks. Transitioning to new crops or practices requires significant investment and expertise, both of which are in short supply for many struggling farmers. Without coordinated support from policymakers, these efforts may not be enough to counter the rising tide of South American competition. Advocacy reform. In the face of these challenges, American farmers are not standing idly by. Grassroots movements and industry organizations are rallying to push for reforms that can level the playing field. The Right to Repair movement is one such effort, demanding that farmers have the freedom to fix and modify their equipment without relying on costly manufacturer-authorized repairs. Advocates are also calling for greater investment in agricultural research and development. By collaborating with universities, technology companies, and government agencies, the aim is to create innovative solutions tailored to the unique needs of American farmers. Subsidies for sustainable farming practices, incentives for crop diversification, and support for rural infrastructure improvements are all part of the policy wish list. International trade negotiations are another critical battleground. With China turning to South America, the United States must explore new markets and strengthen existing relationships with other countries. Regional trade agreements and multilateral collaborations can help ensure that American farmers have access to global markets, even as China reduces its imports. Global implications. The shift in agricultural power dynamics is not just an American story, it is a global one. As South America rises to meet China's growing demands, other nations are closely observing and positioning themselves within the evolving trade landscape. Europe, Asia, and even Africa are exploring ways to fortify their agricultural sectors, understanding that food security is not merely a national concern, but a global imperative in an increasingly interconnected world. This transformation has set the stage for a new era of agricultural competition and collaboration. In Europe, nations are investing in sustainable farming practices to ensure long-term productivity while meeting stricter environmental regulations. In Asia, technological advancements are being prioritized, with countries like India and Indonesia ramping up efforts to modernize their agricultural industries. Meanwhile, in Africa, governments and private sectors are working to unlock the continent's vast potential as a future agricultural powerhouse, aided by investments in infrastructure, irrigation, and crop research. For the United States, this global pivot presents both challenges and opportunities. The crisis triggered by China's decision has exposed significant vulnerabilities in American agriculture, such as over-reliance on single markets and outdated trade strategies. Yet, it has also illuminated pathways for improvement. By addressing these weaknesses, diversifying export markets, adopting advanced technologies, and embracing sustainable practices, American agriculture can transform itself into a more resilient, adaptable, and competitive force on the world stage. This pivotal moment is not merely about recovering from a setback, it is about redefining the role of American agriculture in a rapidly shifting global economy. With the right investments in innovation and policy reform, the United States can reclaim its place as a leader in feeding the world, while also creating a sustainable future for its farmers and communities. This global perspective underscores the urgency and the opportunity inherent in reimagining the future of farming. Future outlook. Despite the challenges, there are signs of resilience and ingenuity within the farming community. Farmers like Carlos Mendoza in Texas are leading the way, leveraging precision agriculture technologies to optimize their operations. By analyzing data on soil conditions, weather patterns, and crop performance, Mendoza has been able to lower costs and increase yields. His success story is a testament to the potential of innovation to overcome adversity. Others are finding hope in collaboration. Cooperatives are emerging as a powerful tool for farmers to pool resources, share knowledge, and access markets more effectively. These grassroots initiatives are not just about survival, they are about reimagining the future of agriculture in a way that prioritizes sustainability, community, and resilience. Additionally, innovative financing options are providing farmers with new ways to manage economic pressures. Microloans, public-private partnerships, and crowdfunding efforts are helping smaller farms invest in modern equipment and sustainable practices. These tools, combined with a growing emphasis on education and mentorship programs for young farmers, are fostering a culture of continuous improvement. By combining traditional wisdom with modern techniques, the farming community is proving that adaptation and perseverance can pave the way for a more sustainable and prosperous future. Innovative adaptations. Faced with the seismic changes brought about by China's pivot away from American agriculture, U.S. farmers are leaning on their greatest strengths: resilience, innovation, and an indomitable spirit. Across the country, farmers are rethinking their strategies, adopting new technologies, and exploring alternative markets to ensure their survival in a rapidly shifting landscape. Precision agriculture, once seen as a luxury reserved for large-scale operations, is now becoming a necessity. Technology such as satellite imaging, drones, and advanced sensors are helping farmers monitor crop health, optimize irrigation, and apply fertilizers with pinpoint accuracy. These tools not only reduce costs, but also improve yields, giving farmers a competitive edge in a global market increasingly dominated by efficiency. Farmers are also diversifying their crops, moving away from an over-reliance on staples like soybeans and corn. Niche markets for organic produce, specialty grains, and even hemp are providing new opportunities. These crops often command higher prices, appealing to consumers who are willing to pay a premium for quality and sustainability. While these changes require significant investment, the long-term benefits are clear. By embracing innovation and diversification, farmers are building resilience into their operations, making them less vulnerable to the whims of international markets. The role of policy. Innovation alone is not enough. For American farmers to thrive, they need a supportive policy environment that addresses the systemic challenges they face. Grassroots advocacy has gained momentum, with farmers organizing to demand reforms that promote sustainability, affordability, and independence. The Right to Repair movement is a prime example of this advocacy. Farmers are pushing for legislation that allows them to maintain and modify their equipment without being locked into costly contracts with manufacturers. This movement has gained bipartisan support, reflecting its importance to the agricultural community. Policymakers are also being urged to increase funding for agricultural research and development. Collaborative efforts between universities, tech companies, and farmers are critical for developing innovative solutions tailored to real-world challenges. Subsidies for sustainable farming practices, tax incentives for crop diversification, and grants for rural infrastructure improvements are all on the table. Internationally, trade agreements must be re-examined. While China's departure has left a significant void, new opportunities exist in regions like Southeast Asia, Europe, and Africa. Strengthening these relationships through fair and balanced trade policies can help ensure American farmers have access to diverse and reliable markets. Community resilience. Beyond individual farms, entire rural communities are mobilizing to adapt to the new reality. Cooperatives are becoming a vital tool for collective resilience. By pooling resources and sharing knowledge, farmers can access better deals on supplies, reach new markets, and invest in shared infrastructure. Local innovation hubs are also emerging as centers of progress. These hubs bring together farmers, researchers, and entrepreneurs to develop and test new technologies, ensuring they are both effective and affordable. The result is a more connected and empowered agricultural community, one that is better equipped to face future challenges. In many areas, communities are also investing in renewable energy projects, such as solar and wind farms. These initiatives provide an additional source of income for farmers while contributing to sustainability goals. By diversifying their revenue streams, rural communities are reducing their dependence on traditional farming alone. A new vision for agriculture. The challenges posed by China's departure have forced the United States to reimagine its agricultural sector. What emerges is a vision of farming that is more sustainable, self-reliant, and globally competitive. This vision prioritizes ecological balance, economic stability, and technological innovation, ensuring that American agriculture remains a cornerstone of the nation's economy. Sustainability is at the heart of this transformation. Practices like regenerative agriculture, which focuses on restoring soil health and reducing carbon emissions, are gaining traction. These methods not only improve the environment but also increase long-term productivity, making them a win-win for farmers and the planet. The role of technology in this vision cannot be overstated. Advances in artificial intelligence, robotics, and data analytics are enabling farmers to make smarter decisions, reduce waste, and maximize profits. These tools are not just for large-scale operations. Efforts are underway to ensure they are accessible to farmers of all sizes, bridging the gap between innovation and practicality. Hope amid challenges. Despite the significant challenges they face, American farmers are proving that they are more than capable of adapting to a changing world. Their ingenuity and perseverance are paving the way for a future where farming is not just about survival, but about thriving in a global economy. This transformation is not without its struggles, but it is driven by a shared commitment to excellence and a belief in the enduring value of agriculture. Farmers, policymakers, and communities are coming together to build a system that is resilient, equitable, and prepared for whatever lies ahead. The story of American farming is one of resilience, adaptation, and perseverance. China's $34 billion pivot may have shaken the agricultural industry, but it has also sparked a wave of innovation and determination. Farmers are stepping up with cutting-edge technology, new crops, and a collective push for policies that support their future. This isn't just about saving farms, it's about protecting a way of life, preserving rural communities, and ensuring the security of our food supply. The challenges are real, but so is the potential for a stronger, more sustainable agricultural system. Now we want to hear from you. How do you think this shift will shape the future of American farming? What solutions would you like to see? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's start a conversation.